Welcome to The Author's Journey with #1 international best-selling author and in-demand publisher, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. Today, we'll showcase the works of an amazing best-selling author, find out the story behind their book, and explore ways to bring your message powerfully forward. Now, here's your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter.
Welcome, everyone, to The Author's Journey. I'm just thrilled and honored to have each of you joining us today. And we specialize in interviewing best-selling authors, having candid conversations with them, really trying to understand what is it like to bring a book forward. So one, idea to reality, bringing it forward, publishing it, and then publishing and bringing it forward in such a way that it's received as a bestseller and above. So today we have an amazing guest. I know you're going to love her heart and her spirit. Not only is she a best-selling author, but she's a New York Times best-selling author. She's known as the book whisperer. She's a publisher. So she has so many rich perspectives and experience that she's going to be sharing with us today. So I'm very excited for our conversation. Listeners, I want you to get the most out of our time together. So I want to invite you to pause, take a breath, become fully present. This time is for you. It's an opportunity to be supported, to be encouraged on your journey, to be filled up. So have that paper and pen ready to capture ideas, insights, aha moments that are supportive on your journey, and be leaning in with excitement and anticipation for all that is here for you, because I know there is something here by the very nature of you tuning in. So have that paper and pen ready, taking that breath, choosing to be fully present. And it's my privilege and honor to introduce our amazing guest, Bridget Cook Birch, known as the Book Whisperer, New York Times bestselling author, mentor, and speaker that's really known for her riveting stories of transformation. Her work has been featured on Oprah, Dateline, Netflix, GMA, and NRP, just to name a few. She is the CEO and founder of Your Inspired Story, co-founder and former executive director of Sheroes United, and founder of Inspired Legacy Publishing. She is passionate about helping you tell your story. Please lean in. Warmly welcome the powerful, dynamic, and inspiring Bridget Cook Birch to the show. Welcome.
Well, good morning. And I'll tell you what, you can't walk away from you not feeling uplifted. That's awesome.
Well, good morning to you as well. Excited to start my day with you and this conversation. And I wanted to start, why is this work of helping people tell their story and bring it forward, why is that work personally so important to you?
Well, Rebecca, thanks for asking. We all have our stories. Every single listener on this call has their own personal story, and it's very vitally important to them. And sometimes I've noticed that there are stories of limitation, and sometimes there are stories of possibilities. And there was a time in my life where I was full of limitation. It was all about what I could not do, what I could not accomplish, how many mistakes I made, what was happening in my life. And then I had a series of events that took place, a near-death experience where I was given a second chance at life. I got to work with kids that had been rough in their neighborhoods, that gang-related, high-risk youth that were taking steps towards a better life. And I fell in love with the human soul and also saw what stories did in my transformation as well as theirs. And then I began to see this transformation that was possible all over the world. Like wherever I traveled and whoever I talked to, I could see, wow, look at how the stories we tell ourselves are the most important stories on the planet, and how people use stories in a really good way. We're either victors over our story or we're still victims of it. And so for me, one of the most, I just get all emotional, but one of the most important things for me is when someone is ready to tell their story and they know that they have gifts on the other side to share with other people so they can walk with them so they know they're not alone in their darkness. that they have tools to be able to share, to overcome more quickly, or to be able to, come back even stronger. And those are the kinds of stories and people that I love to be able to help, to be able to get out into the world, to be able to do things with. It personally motivates me, and so I'm one of the lucky ones that professionally I get to do exactly what I love.
I love it. I'm just leaning in and smiling, and I love how the transformation you went on and having this second chance has created such a fire and passion in you to help people really bring their stories forward and to share them with the world. I love that. Oh, thank you for sharing. And one of the terms I used when I was introducing you was the book whisperer. So I'd love for you to share, what does that mean? Why do people call you that?
Well, it was certainly not a term that I came up for myself, but I had 3 or 4 clients at a retreat and afterwards that it just kind of stuck and started becoming, oh, you have to meet her. She's the book whisperer. And it came about because I think from my near-death experience, and then also just, probably like you, Rebecca, and others of your listeners, I was an avid reader as a little girl all the way through life and have loved stories and books, and I would be transported into other places. And so I've always been compelled by stories. I just didn't realize how strongly until those experiences. Mm-hmm. But what has been beautiful on the other side is to talk to someone, and it's almost like in my mind I can see the threads of story weaving. Mm-hmm. And I can see what their mighty message is, and what 2 or 3 other really important threads of story are, and how it could look in a book. Mm-hmm. And it's like puzzle pieces coming together for me. And then sometimes it blows people away because they're like, oh, I didn't even think about that, or you nailed that, or oh my goodness, no wonder they call you that. So it's a nickname, and it's just kind of stuck.
I love it. Well, I think it's a beautiful name, and you do definitely see what can be created and really help bring people's stories to life and really help them weave those important elements together so it can have the impact it's called to have. So I think it's a beautiful gift and definitely an appropriate title that has stuck. I love it. So you wear many hats, including a publisher. And so I'd love for you, and I know that you help many people bring their books forward. What types of books do you specialize in, those various hats and roles that you carry?
Transformational stories, and those cross genres. So it can be fiction or nonfiction. I specialize in nonfiction because that's where my career has taken me. But I'm an avid reader of fiction and an adamant proponent for fiction as well. So all different kinds of stories, but especially when they're transformational, when they can lead the reader to something significant in their own life is where, like, it just lights my passion, lights my fire. Mm. And so one of the things is just, there's a lot of people who have traversed a lot of shadow, who have overcome a lot of great darkness. And then it's unique and powerful how they did it, what path they walked, where they found the light, where they found knowledge, wisdom, experience, where they came out the other side with gifts. And so transformational memoir, transformational self-help and thought leadership, transformational fiction, those are the books that I absolutely specialize in.
Beautiful. And what's your favorite part about being a publisher, coming alongside people and helping them bring their books forward into the world? Is there just there's probably many things you love about it, but what are just the top few?
Well, there's a couple of things. One is, in what we're facing today, out in the world and with social media and, TikTok 20-second blips, right? There's teeny tiny portions of story, and they can be very enigmatic, but they don't reveal a broad narration of inner momentum, inner motivation, and this transformation. And, books can be They can be educational, they can be informational, they can be inspirational and motivational, and they can also be transformational. And so I love it when someone chooses for their book to be transformational, and what it means is that they're going to translate something significant that happened in their life on a hero's journey. And when an author witnesses that journey for themselves, it's not just like this expensive business card that they slap on paper. It's actually meant to serve someone, and they find themselves honoring the journey that they've been on. And I love to watch them blossom. I know you've seen it too every day. But that there becomes a leader. There becomes a person willing to up-level. There becomes more confidence. There becomes more joy. There becomes more mitigated risk-taking. Like, you know what, I used to think I couldn't do that, but now I know I can do that in so many aspects of life and love and relationships. And so really my most favorite part is to watch people blossom. They're like a lotus flower, and I get to watch them unfold before me. And I'm just honored to be a witness.
Thank you for sharing. I love that. And as you were sharing, what just popped into my heart and spirit, I could see when the visual of the lotus flower unfolding. But I also think people sometimes are so close to their journey, they don't realize what they have accomplished. They sometimes see it, oh, I just did that, or doesn't everybody go through that, or whatever it is. They don't see themselves truly as this extraordinary hero. Do you see that a lot, or do you find people recognize that you work with? I'd love to know your experience around that.
Yeah, there's a phenomenon in our industry called imposter syndrome, and it's very fundamental to everyone's core wound, and that is, am I significant in the world? Do I mean anything? Would anyone really listen to me? Is what I have to say important? And at some point along the journey, every author experiences that. For some, it's really in the beginning. For others, it's getting close to getting their book published, but it rears its head. It is a natural phenomenon. And it's also something that when people actually follow through on the full-out writing of their story and then getting it out into the world, that imposter syndrome will come back at other times, when you're taking a great big risk, but never with the vehemence that it does before you write your book. And so it's really wonderful to see the power that can come. And it is a normal thing when we've experienced something to think, well, it's not that admirable. It's kind of normal, right? And we think our lives are normal, but when you get right down to it, nobody has seen the world through your eyes. And so when you write it down, you automatically broaden other people's perspectives. And but the first one that we get to broaden is ourselves. Like, wow, when people see their stories in black and white, they begin to realize, oh my goodness, I have accomplished a lot. I have been through things. I have worked through a lot of pain or a lot of situations and circumstances and learned how to find solutions, provide solutions for others. And so they get kind of giddy and excited when that starts to really percolate to the surface, the truth of their magnificence.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. As we get ready to go to our first commercial break, there's just so much that our beautiful Bridget has already shared with us to really think about and reflect on. So enjoy these 2 minutes. It's an opportunity for you to really sink into the wisdom, the insight, and the perspective that Bridget has brought forward. And we'll continue our conversation in just a few minutes.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit empoweredconnectionstv.com. That's empoweredconnectionstv.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
Rebecca Hall Gruyter's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at speakertalentsearch.com. That's speakertalentsearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
Stimulating talk.
It gets those synapses in the brain firing really fast.
All the time. The #1 internet talk station where your opinion counts. VoiceAmerica.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those 2 minutes and the opportunity to sink into all that Bridget has shared. One of the things I love about Bridget, I love her use of language. It's so rich and powerful, and it always touches my heart and spirit. I always think of Bridget as magical. So she's a magical book whisperer that has this amazing gift with language and expression. So I hope that you have enjoyed that and been leaning into it as I have. So as we come back, I wanted to share a little bit more about Bridget, and she has this ability to help bring books forward. So not only bring those stories forward and help the author bring them forward in an impactful way, she also helps them be seen and heard and really touch people's lives. Because I've discovered if they can't see you, if they can't hear you, you can't help them. So that visibility, helping the book be seen, is so important. And that's something I think is very unique about how Bridget and Inspired Legacy really works with her authors to create this beautiful book, but also to release it in the world in such a way that it creates good visibility, opportunity, becomes a bestseller or more, so it can really touch hearts and lives around the world. And Bridget, I didn't know if you wanted to share a little bit about that. I know you have a powerful team that comes together to help make that happen, but I think it's just something really unique and powerful about what you do in the publishing world.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like every book has its launch point, its special place to be seen and to be heard, because it's true. You know, we get so many people who will work really hard on a book, and you and I both know what that's like. You know, you put your heart and soul, you put your all your blood, sweat, and tears into a book, and then I hear the heartbreaking stories of, well, yeah, I launched my book last year, but you know, I've sold a few copies, but it hasn't done anything. And it's crushing to me. I know what it takes to put it on paper, and I know what it takes for someone to say, okay, I'm going to push this button, and I'm going to say yes, or sign this contract, or whatever it might be, and get it out into the world. And so when that time comes, I think it's really important that in addition to writing the book, that you have made a commitment to be visible so that you can reach more people. And there are, you know, we developed a very special team, and Rebecca, you are such an integral part of this because, you know, on my book whispering end of things, I could help people with stories, and I can help certain stories maybe get into New York. But a majority of stories deserve a really special hand at the creation of the cover, at the creation of the content and formatting, and especially of the launch and the visibility and making sure that it really can get into the hands of the people that it's meant to heal or to educate or transform, as we discussed. And so I searched for over 2.5 years for someone that cared as much as I did about stories and about the authors behind the stories and about their steps forward as leaders into the world. And so started developing a little team on my side, but then I met Rebecca. And Rebecca's not used to people talking about her so much on this show, but what I'm going to tell you is that this is also a book whisperer, and she's a launch whisperer and has done more than 300 national and international best-selling titles. And so we came together to create something extraordinary, and that was Inspired Legacy Publishing. And what I love in working with you and our international team is that we have this ability to break into a world that seemed untouchable to that author just months before. And that as much care as has gone into the writing of the book then goes into the getting it out into the world. And to watch people on their launch day and after their launch day and the opportunities that are coming in, it is a wonderful, beautiful thing to behold. You know, oh, I'll get back with you. I'm talking to a speakers bureau right now. Or, oh, I just got a phone call about this speech that I get to go give. Or these people have invited me to travel and to speak to their group. And it's a wonderful thing that begins to happen because of that ability for you to shine, for you to take your story out in a significant place. And so, anyway, you can tell I'm really passionate about it because, 9 out of 10 people want to write a book. There's a small fraction of that get it done. And when they get it done, oh my goodness, they deserve to shine. So I love that we have created something together where our authors can shine, and we continue to see that over and over, how it opens doors. And how in the hands of people who will write these reviews, but especially who will contact you and want to be part of the movement on the planet that you're creating. This is what excites me, is when there's power and momentum and opportunity and joy behind that.
Thank you for sharing. I love that. And it's been an honor to partner with you and your amazing authors. And I love seeing them shine in the world. And that was a beautiful way of expressing what becomes accessible to them, that they can break into this world, be seen, and have an impact. There are over 2,000 books being released every single day right now. So it takes a plan, it takes a strategy, it takes a whole team of support to help break into that and rise to the top to be seen so that you can have the impact that you're called to have. And I love how you hold that space. And it is such an honor to be on the journey and hold that space with you and just see the authors blossom and shine and trust the world with their message and then own their message and become busy with all of those opportunities. I love it.
Wonderful. I do too. And I love the joy that we share together when we see them be able to do that.
Exactly. Well, speaking of which, and that, we have a number of books that you have recently worked with and brought forward. And I didn't know if you just wanted to touch on a few of those, just to, if people are like, well, I want to learn more, I want to see some of these books, I want more of Bridget. So do you mind sharing a few of the titles and a little bit about them?
Absolutely. So there's been quite a few recent titles that are really kicking some butt and taking names. It's wonderful. So one of these, speaking of which, is called Warrior in the Garden by Rob Eastman. And Rob worked his guts out on this book. It was not easy. He'll be the first to tell you he has raging ADHD. But his book is about what it took for him to be able to overcome intense bullying and the drugs and alcohol that he escaped into in order to be able to get away from that pain. And then what it took to bring him to the other side, where now he's this amazing coach and an amazing mentor. In fact, I've had my own physical transformation under Rob's tutelage lately, and that's been so wonderful. But where he really shines, what is so amazing is his work with kids and with young people in recovery. He has this incredible way of, where they just think, I can't. And he's the coach that says, oh, yes, you can. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to walk beside you until you prove it to yourself. And in the meantime, ride the coattails of my confidence. Mm-hmm. And then he does. And he stands beside them, and he's just remarkable. So this warrior in the garden, it comes from an old Chinese saying that it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war. And he prepares young people to be that warrior in the garden where they have accountability and responsibility, and they are no longer at war with themselves, so they can be a great contribution to themselves, to their families, and to the world. And it's a very beautiful, vibrant story. And as you know, we've had a couple of amazing fictional books that have come out as well. It's been so fun. So Karen Ann Bullock is a fictional author who writes transformational fiction about women in positions of power and what it takes to gain power in her Ascending Ladder series. And she just released number 2, which has been so fun because, there's not been any fictional series about a woman rising in the corporate ladder and the things she faces at home and in the boardroom, as well as in other aspects of life. And so we've really enjoyed that. And she became an international bestseller, too, on business ethics and some other things that in her corporate life and now in her life as a Daring to Transcend coach, she's able to showcase to people what is possible. And so she's married those fiction and nonfiction worlds to a beautiful degree. And Hannah Rose Lyon, she the first in her series, and her second one is coming out soon, the Freedom for Rethus series, but The Rebel in Violet was her first book and also did so well. And it's one of those books that, for those of you who love fiction and fiction series and high fantasy, hers have to do with some of the deepest questions that we can ask ourselves about freedom, about culture, about, when we follow the crowd, but also when our lives are at stake or our freedoms or what we really believe in and what we choose. And given the culture that we've been living in lately, it really speaks to so much in a way that is enjoyable to so many. And just last week, we had a big launch. Big People Don't Pee in the Park. A completely different kind of book. This one's so fun with Wendy Hooten, and she's a mother who has a son with Down syndrome, and with a great sense of humor, you can tell, she's been able to take that life story of her and her son and his growing and developmental years and what it has meant for her to have him in her home as an adult. And she brings such hope and such joy, so many tears and so much laughter and authenticity to the stage. And we're so grateful that, it's something that she's choosing to make visible, like all of these. And then last but not least, that I also helped an author who I dearly love, Lindsey Coleman, and his wife, Jennifer. I helped them to write When God Has More Faith Than Your Doctors. And it's exactly what it's about, is finding the strength to thrive no matter what, and learning how to listen to that intuition, learning how to manifest your own health and abundance. Lindsey started off as this poor little scrapper on the streets of Salt Lake City and had an alcoholic father whom he dearly loved, but there were a lot of ramifications and a lot of poverty that he faced. And so he was a young entrepreneur. Then he faced some health crises later on in life, nearly losing a leg and then another one, and he had some bouts with cancer. But it was when he went through a really significant experience where it was actually a near-death experience, and he went to the other side and came back, and we were able to encapsulate this incredible story that I know, Rebecca, brought you to tears and laughter as well. Lindsey is such a character. But he also has a big heart, because since he's come back from his near-death experience, he just only has the desire to help people, to share, to help them to understand that they can tackle anything that's facing them health-wise or in business or in terms of abundance. And he's been able to help walk beside people just like Rob, but in terms of manifesting a more beautiful life with a significant meaning. And so these are just some of the authors in the books that we really celebrate that have hit national and international significance through a lot of work with our entire team and their teams working together to gain this visibility. And the books are now out there being visible and attracting attention and bringing opportunities. It's beautiful.
I'm smiling as you're sharing, and that's just a little sampler. There are many, many more beautiful books that have been brought forward, and each of them just so rich and powerful. Excited for each of the authors, and I'm excited for all the readers that lean in to these amazing books, and I know they will impact their hearts and impact their lives powerfully. So thank you so much for sharing. And our time is going very quickly, but I wanted to just touch on a couple of things. So one, as you reflect back on our conversation and think about all the work that you do with authors in so many different ways, supporting them, do you have a tip, a piece of advice you can give to our listeners out there that are one of those 9 in 10 that someday want to bring their story forward?
Well, number one, I would say believe that you can, because that is the number one fundamental thing, is to believe that you can and that there are people out there who are hungry for what you have to offer, and that you do have something significant to say. So that's number one. And number two is I invite you to sit down and to create a chronology. We call it writing juicy, where you're using your left brain to write down the years and months and significant rites of passage and things that took place and where you were living and what records you have. And then on the other side, the stories that have deep meaning, those turning points in your life, the rises as well as the falls, the places of deep, deep vulnerability and the places of joyful significance, and all the lovely little nuances in between and along the way. Those are two really powerful things that I can share with you where I would get started, because you witness some things about yourself that you may have never known before.
Thank you. I hope people are writing down these tips as we lean into our conversation here. And then also, I know that you have a number of ways that you work with authors and you support them. You have tools and resources. And I'd love for you to just take a couple of minutes and share some of the different ways that people can connect with you, some of the different services or opportunities for them to get support on their journey. And I'd love for you to take a moment to talk about your writers' retreats.
Thank you. Well, I've been doing this for a number of years now. So I started writing books with people and for people about almost 20 years ago. And in the last 10 years, I've been able to provide so many tools for others to be able to write their stories. And so I have some free resources where you can get started on my website. It's called yourinspiredstory.com. And you can go and look at the map and find yourself on the map. Am I a beginning? Am I intermediate? Am I getting close to publishing? There's 4 different stops along the way, and we have some beautiful online programs, including some free resources in the beginning stages, and then we also have other resources for you along the way. And so I encourage you to go there and see where you are on your journey and see what could be offered, but also what is possible for you, because that's what we're really about, are those possibilities. And I will say that one of my favorite ways to interact with people is our Inspired Writers Retreats. We hold these at least a couple times a year up on a beautiful turquoise lake in the mountains. The scenery is stunning. The cabin is beautiful. We have a personal chef who will take care of any food needs so that we can simply focus on your book. And I only take a small group of people at a time, up to about 15 authors, and we spend the whole weekend working on your book. And so any of that imposter syndrome, we blow out of the water. Any of the, will anyone hear me, we blow out of the water, and we put down some things that are important. We help you to outline your most powerful book, no matter what kind of book it is. And we have experiential exercises that you can't find online or in a classroom that are live and so juicy and rich, that give you skills and tools that people will read your book and they just won't be able to put it down. And so all of that in a nutshell are wonderful ways. And I also offer some other services. Besides my online classes, I have executive one-on-one. I only have a certain amount of spots for those, but I do love being able to do that. And we also have a editor that we work with on a 2-on-1, so for accelerated book writing. So wherever you're at on the journey, what I love now in also having a publishing company along with the book whispering is no matter where you're at on the journey, we have services to assist you to get out there in a really big way.
Thank you so much for sharing and joining us today. I so appreciate it. I know this is an especially busy season, so thank you in the book world. So thank you for taking time out to share with us. And one of the things I think is so important about what you shared is that reminder that there's a whole team. You don't need to do this alone. That's a myth. Mm-hmm. I don't know where it got started, but it's just not true. You can get support on the journey and you'll go faster. It'll be richer and more powerful and certainly more joyful. And I think sometimes writers, authors can get a bit isolated. So I love that you've created a community to help support, to come alongside, to cheer them on. And your writers' retreats are so, so powerful. Would you mind sharing your contact information one more time, just in case anyone missed it, and the best way for them to connect and follow you?
Absolutely. So my website is yourinspiredstory.com. I also have inspiredwritersretreat.com, but you can find that on our regular website as well. You can reach me on Facebook under M. Bridget Cook Birch, or Your Inspired Story on Facebook, and also on Instagram under my name and The Book Whisperer. And I would love to connect with you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today. Listeners, that is a sincere invitation. So I hope that you wrote down that contact information. You can certainly rewind, listen to that again. And Bridget loves connecting with authors and cheering you on your journey, answering questions so that you really can find a way to bring your story forward. And for the avid readers out there, I would encourage you to check out some of the books she just shared out. They are powerful. They're impactful. They have information in them and lessons in them and things that you explore and expansion that stay with you in such amazing ways. So I encourage you to lean in. You can find all of those books on Amazon and get your copy today. Thank you again for joining us, Bridget. And listeners, I hope that you take a few moments to write down those things that are bubbling up as you reflect on our conversation. And don't just write them down, but look at what is an action you can take today. One step you can take to move forward in bringing your journey, your book forward. Keep reading, keep writing, and we'll look forward to talking to you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to The Author's Journey. Please join Rebecca Hall Gruyter for another edition of the Author's Journey podcast every Monday on the Voice America Variety Channel. And until we talk again, use some of the tips and inspiration from today's show to guide you as you lean in to bringing your message forward.